because we know that seniors care nowadays, it's not just, they need their housekeeping done or they need their laundry done. It's the physical care as well. And so we've introduced a lot of those care types into the home so that, seniors can age in place.
In this video, you'll meet Adam Cranley, who's a community relations specialist at Greenview Seniors Residence in North York, Ontario. And in this video, you'll hear about the difference in the level of care that Greenview can provide. You'll also hear about why that makes this residence so unique in terms of the offerings in the industry and this area. You'll also hear about the relationship that staff and residents have within the Greenview community. So why don't you start by telling us 3 things that you love about your job?
Yeah, for sure. And actually, I'm going to kind of tie this into my background as well. So my grandparents were actually the first licensed nursing home operators in Ontario in 1959. My parents were in the industry for 30 plus years, so I'm 3rd generation. So it made getting into this industry obviously a much easier, but it's always been one of my life passions and working with seniors. And also, so one of the things I love about my job is I help seniors. It's a very difficult transition, right? From, especially a lot of them have been living in a home for 50, 60 years sometimes. And it can be a frightening change of leaving all that behind and going into a new home. But what I love about my job is I help them transition into not just any community, but, and I'm a bit biased here, like Greenview, where we've had staff there for 20 plus years. It's a smaller home, which is nice. So it's really got that home-like feel. So that's honestly, like, that's 1, 2, and 3 of what I love about my job of helping seniors find a place where they're comfortable, they'll be cared for. And it's going from one home to another home. So
you've obviously spent a lot of time in this industry. How did you end up specifically at Greenview?
So long story short, I was working for my dad for a couple of years when I graduated from school. And Ashram Nanji, Metta Lifestyles CEO, he had just recently bought Greenview and hired my dad and myself to help manage. And so my dad was getting ready to retire. Ashram was looking to expand. And so it was kind of a nice, easy transition. And Greenview was Ashram's first home under the Metta Lifestyles brand. So it was kind of an easy transition there. And I've been with them ever since.
Knowing the industry as much as you do for as long as you have, what are some of the changes that you've seen happen within the industry, and how do you think that Greenview Metta Lifestyles is responding to those changes?
Well, one of the really big things, of course, first was the RHA, the Retirement Homes Act, of actually getting retirement homes regulated, which I think was long overdue, and giving them the recognition that, homes that are well operated and that have been doing these even prior to the act coming in place. That was a really big change, of course. And, what's really nice now is that, homes, now that they are regulated and we have the RHRA coming in and doing these inspections and making sure that, we're not just selling care, we're actually doing the care. So that was a really big change for us. Like I was saying before, we've had staff working at Greenview for 20 plus years. So they were already very well trained even prior to Metta Lifestyles coming in, even prior to the new act coming into place. And it made that transition a lot easier when the RHA was coming in to do those inspections and stuff like that, because they'd already been doing it for so long. And I love to brag about Greenview that it's kind of like a well-oiled machine. The staff, it's not easy to work in this industry, especially with the type of care that Greenview does, where we're kind of beyond assisted living. We call it enhanced assisted living. It's a very difficult type of care. So, I commend my staff for being there for 20 plus years and really having a passion for what they do. It's made it easy for the Metta Lifestyles brand to come in. It makes my job much easier as well. So that was one of the big changes. Yeah.
And so that enhanced assisted level of care is something that gives Greenview a bit of a unique offering in terms of what else is available in North York, in the GTA area. So can you explain more about what that means in terms of the kind of care that you can provide?
Oh, for sure. And I'll give some background as well about why we do this type of care. So of course, with long-term care homes, the wait lists are growing longer and longer, especially in the GTA area. And so it's put seniors today in a very tough bind, because as seniors are living longer and longer, the care needs are going with that hand in hand. And so when Metta Lifestyles came into Greenview, and we already saw that they were doing higher levels of care than your standard, independent home, your standard assisted living home. And so what we did was we continued to introduce more staff. We enacted more training for the staff as well. And so for our type of care, we call it the full spectrum. So we do 2-person transfers, Hoyerless, full feeding assistance, oxygen management, medication management, specialized diets. Our care services list is very, very long, because we know that seniors care nowadays, it's not just, they need their housekeeping done or they need their laundry done. It's the physical care as well. And so we've introduced a lot of those care types into the home so that, seniors can age in place. And we've seen that even the term aging in place has really evolved through the last couple of years. And so we want to make sure that when a senior moves into Greenview, even if they're a little bit past their independent stage, they know and their family knows that, if and when those additional care needs arise, that Greenview has the staffing in place, has those care services in place. They don't have to move to another home and then another home. Mm-hmm. They can stay at Greenview, and they can be comfortable, and there's that sense of safety and security.
This is a growing industry. There, as the population ages, more retirement living organizations, residences are opening up, but they don't always offer this level of care. Quite a few are geared towards people who are still independent, still kind of living an active life, just looking for a different kind of lifestyle and with fewer responsibilities. So what do you think is important about a place like Greenview that does take a higher level of care into account?
It's becoming more and more rare, which is, to be honest, a little bit surprising. But I also understand it is a very difficult type of care to do also. And it's one of the rare attributes of Metta Lifestyles and our history as a company of being able to do it really well and allowing us to expand it to our other GTA homes and in Ottawa, of doing that type of care. And so it is very niche as well. But the other thing that we're noticing is that, while it's niche now, that niche is growing ever so much and over the years. And so, what's nice is that even if a senior, if they want to change their lifestyle and they go to a more independent home, then what we do is we work very closely with those homes as well. And so, if they have, one of their residents is ready for that next step, but again, like I mentioned before, the long-term care wait list is so long, then Greenview comes into play and we can help bridge that gap. And what we notice too, a lot of the times is that even if one of our residents is on a wait list for a long-term care home, not all the time, but sometimes they might even turn it down because they're happy at Greenview. They're getting the same level of care, but the resident is happy there and the family's happy. So that's a big win for us.
Those who are coming to you looking at their options, do you find that there is a mix of those who are those independent active seniors just looking for a bit of a change, or do they tend to have a slightly higher level of need and they're looking at options that can meet those needs?
We do have every now and then, an independent senior or, that might need a little bit of support. Maybe they don't have to do their laundry and the housekeeping and stuff like that, and they like having the meals in the dining room. But primarily, the type of care that we do definitely attracts seniors that do have higher care needs. And they like the fact that Greenview, like I said before, has such a wide spectrum of care options, so that, and everything that we do is also tiered. So maybe today, they might be using a walker, but, if they notice that they have some mobility issues down the road, all of our a lot of our residents need assistance to and from meals and activities. And because we already have the staffing in place to accommodate that, they have that peace of mind that they know, when they come to Greenview, if their care needs continue to increase as well, that they can come in. So it definitely attracts that higher level of care resident.
And so you mentioned briefly the dining room, and I feel like all these conversations eventually come back to food. So do you have a favorite menu item?
So our chef, Peter, he's big on fish and chips Fridays, and that's been extremely popular with the residents. So definitely that. I don't know. We're lucky. Peter, he's our regional executive chef, and so he oversees the menus for all our homes and supports all of our staff or our chefs and cooks at all of our communities. And he really tries to think out of the box. So he's partnered with farms up in Uxbridge, like north of Toronto, and bring that farm to table in the truest of senses. He's even have gardens outside at our communities. And so, residents that have a bit of a green thumb, they'll help grow our vegetables with us. And then we'll do a bit of a potluck at the end of the season. So I don't have a favorite because he really expands the kind of box that we're looking for. And what's also great, especially with Greenview, and being in the Toronto area, we have such a diverse crowd, and so there's such diversity in the Toronto area. And so he's willing to expand our menu, if we have a Cantonese resident that moves in and they have a very specific diet and a very specific taste, he'll go out of his way to get those items for that particular resident. And I think that's really special. And I think that's really what's helped Greenview grow and helped Metta Lifestyles grow in the past 5 years. So,
with a place like Greenview that attracts seniors with a higher level of care, what has it shown to you, or what has it taught you about, the kind of quality of life that people with higher needs can have in a community that supports them?
It's pretty remarkable. I think when most people think about retirement homes, they're used to seeing advertisements about independent seniors, and they're going for walks and they're going outside, they're going on outings and stuff like that. What's very, of course, unique about Greenview is that with our residents and the higher care needs, we have to adapt a lot of the things that we do for our residents. And one of those things, again, is adapting of what makes our residents happy. And so, of course, with the expanded level of care that we do at Greenview, the residents knowing that care aside, that's already taken care of, it's pretty remarkable to see the little things that really make our residents happy, whether it's if a resident is being assisted down to the dining room and one of our PSWs is just having a friendly chat with them. And again, because our residents and our staff, they build a great relationship, and with Greenview being a smaller home too. So it's really neat to see the kind of environment that Greenview has. And it's really about the simple things, I find, with our residents. It really is. And I think that, again, speaks to our staff and them going out of their way to get to know the residents as well.
Are there any programs or activities or other features of the residents that occupies the time of those who live there?
Yeah. So with Greenview, we, again, being and adapting to our residents, we've had to kind of change the approach that we do and with the type of activities that we do with our residents. So a lot of it is, again, promoting physical activity, which is really big and really important for our residents. But also just, again, going back to kind of the simple things, if it's just arts and crafts or movie matinees, the gardening program that we do, and Greenview's got a beautiful courtyard out front, little things like that. We try and bring in a lot of extra like entertainers and stuff like that as well. We try and bring everything to Greenview. That's the really big thing, and bringing everything to our residents.
And how do you approach communications with families who are outside of the residence, who have a loved one there? How do you let them know that there's an event taking place that maybe they want to participate in, or if there's a change happening or a need that's growing within their loved one that requires a bigger conversation?
So I'm going to do a shout out to Yvonne, our director of care. She's great with communicating with the families. She's been at Greenview now for, I believe, 18 years. And she, again, built a really strong relationship with the families. And she makes sure that if it's a small little change, if it's a big change, whatever it is, she's reaching out and communicating with the families, as well as our GM, Michael. communication is the biggest thing. Families, especially because the type of care that we do is quite rare, we find that families do have to travel a little bit further, and when they bring their loved one to Greenview. And so them being able to come in all the time might not always be an option. We've been really lately heavily promoting our Facebook page as well, and really trying to expand on getting videos and pictures out. A lot of the times, even a family might text our lifestyles manager and say, hey, do you mind just snapping a quick picture of my mom while she's doing arts and crafts, stuff like that. So really having that personal touch, really getting to know the families as well. And it honestly, it starts from when they first reach out to myself, building that rapport with the families. If I have to have an hour-long conversation with them, I don't mind, because at the end of the day, it's a really big decision for not only the senior, but their kids, and moving their mom or dad into a home. It's a really big change. It can also be frightening for them too. So building that rapport with the families, keeping communication open at all times, it's very important. But again, I think it's one of Greenview's big strengths.
And speaking of which, those who are reaching out to you early on in their research process, just looking into kind of what the field is, if they don't know anything about it to begin with, there can often be, as you say, a lot of high emotions involved, some anxiety, some nerves, and often there's some disagreement about whether or not this is a move that needs to happen, if this is the right place, or what it's going to mean when somebody moves into a residence. So what's your advice for families in that situation, or how do you approach those dynamics and people who are coming to you with questions?
A lot of the times, and I feel, again, it kind of goes back to the type of care we do, I find that with families that do approach me, they're a bit lost. Again, if they were moving their resident into like an independent home, it's essentially like an apartment with a little bit of extra care, where with the type of care we do, it's a lot of educating. And so right off the bat, I'll tell families, and I'll set aside a time with them so that I can educate them on, here's all the different options that you have. If you're looking independent, better supported living, assisted living, dementia care, memory care, the whole works, long-term care, here's everything that, is laid out in front of you. And I tell them, and I say, even if you're not choosing Greenview, I want to make sure that you're making an informed decision. So I try and assist them and educate them as best as I possibly can, and give them the resources so that at the end of the day, even if it isn't Greenview, or if I'm referring them to another home that might make more sense for their location, even if it's not Metta Lifestyles, I know that at the end of the day, they're making the best decision for their loved one. And at the end of the day, that's really what it's all about, making sure that, when they're making that decision, whether it's for their mom or dad or with their mom and dad, it's a very well-educated and very informed decision. And they'll take comfort in knowing that, they're making a good decision for their mom or dad. And then I can sleep at night. I know that at the end of the day, maybe they didn't move in, but there's another senior that's moving into a home that they're going to be happy.
And is there a memory of a resident that you've met at Greenview that stands out in your mind?
Oh, there's been a lot. Greenviews, we've had quite a few centennial residents that have lived past 100. And so, and again, with the type of relationships that we build with our residents, I've had quite a few long conversations. I don't think I could pin down one. I'm a pilot, and there was a previous pilot, John. He wasn't at Greenview very long. He was just there for a respite, but I remember the stories and what he told me, and the wisdom that he shared with me. That's what I really kind of going back to what's my favorite thing about working in this industry. I find that seniors nowadays, taking for granted, maybe not the right word, but the wisdom that they have, I think we take that for granted. And the stories that they can share, they've lived through it. If a resident, 80, 90, 100 years old, they've seen it all. And I think personally for myself, that's one of the true joys I have of working in this industry, of hearing their stories and getting to listen to the wisdom and everything that they've lived through. So John, definitely one of them, but honestly, I couldn't even count on both my hands, one of my favorite residents.
And looking ahead at the next 5 or 10 years, what's coming up for Greenview? Do you see any changes coming, or anything that you would like to see grow or added to what you currently offer?
we're actually in the midst of doing it right now. We've been renovating the home for the past couple of years and really giving the residents something to be proud of. Greenview, it is an older home. But again, the location is fantastic. We're right on Lawrence. Shops at Don Mills is right across the street. So the convenience factor is already there. But now we're really working on the internal aspect of the home and giving it a fresh face. So we redid our dining room, we redid our basement. We're redoing a lot of the suites right now. So I'm really excited for those to take place and those to get finished as well. And then in the long term, honestly, once those renovations are done, we already do the type of care that I believe should be introduced in a lot more homes, and that our seniors, in the GTA and in all of Ontario, they really, really need. So I'm very proud of that fact that I believe we're truly ahead of the curve in that aspect. So.
And finally, what's your advice for anyone who's in the middle of their search now?
Mm-hmm. Reach out to Greenview. No, definitely educate yourself. Take time. I know it can be a very stressful experience. To be honest, I've probably done well over 1,000 inquiry calls so far. And the main trait I see is families, they really stress, and understandably so, because there's so much information out there, and it feels very overwhelming, and you're getting information from news articles, you're getting information from different homes. Take your time, educate yourself. Comfort Life is a great resource as well. Read up on blogs, a lot of other communities, Metta Lifestyles included, go to their resource section, really educate yourself on what does one home describe a certain level of care compared to another home, because, one company may describe assisted living one way, where in our terms in Metta Lifestyles, we describe it very differently. So really try and educate yourself on that matter, and reach out to a lot of homes. Have open conversations with the sales individuals. Don't just let them give them, their spiel. Really trying to have a communication with them, really try and break it down and get to know the type of individuals they are as well. And I think that gives you a very unique perspective into what the home is about also. So.
What's a question that you think more people should ask you or anyone in your position at a residence?
Are your residents happy? Really ask about the residents. At the end of the day, if you are choosing a home for your mom and dad, they're going to be, sharing their experiences with the residents that are already in the home. So, really try and find out what the residents are about. What are the residents like? Are residents in the home, do they all just stay in the room and watch TV? Or do a lot of them participate in activities? It's also really important, not just the care aspect that you're looking for, if it's a type of home like Greenview that you're looking at, and the care needs of your mom and dad are quite high. Also look at, their overall, like, what's the social aspect like? You want to find a fit, not just for the care needs and stuff like that. You also want to find a fit socially. We're humans, we're very social beings. And that's a very, very important aspect that I feel sometimes gets overlooked. And I feel that, if some families could go back and do it again, I think that would be one of the questions that they would ask themselves first.